Assassin's Creed has been my favorite video game series for a very long time now, if that was not evident by the amount of time I dedicate to talking about it. But through the near 5 years since I've started this channel, I've noticed similar comments every few videos of people who have never played Assassin's Creed, or maybe played it a long time ago and are wanting to get into the series but don't know where to start, what they should know, and if they'll enjoy it. I even had some of my friends want to get into it and ask me where to start, which is what inspired this video. I mean, Assassin's Creed I imagine can be a pretty intimidating series to get into. There's 13 mainline games, not even including all the spin-offs and smaller games. There's books, comics, a VR game, mobile games, a movie, soon to be a TV series. There's a lot, and I can definitely see how it could be overwhelming to someone new. And despite the series' reputation being a little divisive right now, Assassin's Creed is more popular than it's ever been. The series continues to grow, and with Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out later this year, more people are going to be experiencing this series for the first time. So in this video, I hope to ease that entry into the Assassin's Creed universe for new players, and hopefully answer a lot of frequently asked questions from newcomers. Now, I know most of my subscribers are probably not newcomers, and so I encourage you guys to help new players with their questions in the comments, and some other things that you feel may be good to know for someone who's never played one of these games before. Something that you perhaps yourself would have liked to know before playing your first Assassin's Creed game, whichever one it may have been. But let's start with the basic question. What is Assassin's Creed? Okay, well, that's actually a pretty complex question because Assassin's Creed has become so large that it's not very easy to define. It can no longer be put into a box or defined by a genre. It started out as a third-person, open-world action-adventure game, but since we have had different types of games. We've had RPGs, more in tune to the style of something like the Witcher games. We've got a multiplayer game coming out next year, and a semi-linear new style of AC game coming out the year after that. The series has become too large to be defined by any one genre or medium. But if that's the case, then what's the basic premise? The basic premise is through a machine called the Animus, a person from the present day can relive the memories of their ancestors centuries in the past. Typically an ancestor that was a member of a brotherhood called the Assassin's Creed, a group of like-minded individuals who wear hoods and robes with concealed blades attached to their wrists and charge themselves as secret protectors of peace and free will through assassinating those they believe will bring those things harm. The Assassin's Creed is based on a real faction of assassins that existed during the Crusades. However, like most things with this series, it's far from 100% historically accurate. Assassin's Creed can definitely be defined as historical fiction, and the assassins' sworn enemies, and usually the antagonists of the games, though not always, is the Knights Templar. Obviously, a real faction as well, that's been fictionalized to fit within the stories of the series. And the Templars are typically seen as the villains who seek peace through means of order and control. Though again, like most conflicts, the Assassins versus Templars is rarely a simple case of good versus evil, which is only natural when you have a secret war spanning centuries across the globe with thousands of different members on each side. And while not every game follows this blueprint, that is the basic premise of the series itself. It's a bit of an oversimplification, but I don't want to bog down or overwhelm new players with too much information. But next, I want to answer what would be some frequently asked questions from newcomers who want to get into the series. Questions I've seen in comments and in Reddit forums, all that. And I think probably the most common one is, are the games connected? Most of the mainline titles are not connected, but there are a few exceptions to that. But for the most part, you can jump into a lot of these games and not be totally confused or missing chunks of the story. Like I said, there are exceptions, most notably the Ezio trilogy, which is Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. All of them have Ezio as the protagonist, and they tell one big cohesive story following him. Even if you haven't played Assassin's Creed before, you probably have at least heard or seen Ezio before. Ubisoft has basically made him the series' mascot. He's by far the most popular and recognizable protagonist. He got the most time and attention to detail in his story. He's the only protagonist of the series who got sequels, and he's generally a very easy character to like and has many different things people can relate to. He's clearly the favorite child in Ubisoft's eyes, as his outfit is in pretty much every game. He's referenced a lot. He shows up in games like Fortnite, he's in the new VR game. Ubisoft put way more time and effort into his story specifically than any other protagonist. And so Assassin's Creed 2 is not a bad place to start, as you can experience Ezio's story from 2 to Brotherhood to the conclusion in Revelations. However, running parallel with Ezio's story is Desmond's story, the modern-day protagonist. Almost every Assassin's Creed game has a modern-day story running alongside the past storyline. You'll typically play as the character who's experiencing their ancestors' memories, and for Ezio, that is Desmond. And Desmond's storyline starts in the first Assassin's Creed game, goes through AC2, Brotherhood, Revelations, and ends in Assassin's Creed 3. Some of the other modern-day stories from the other games are connected as well, though not quite to the extent of Desmond's from the first 5 games. Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla also all share a modern-day story following the same character Layla, but don't let that overwhelm you. It is not absolutely necessary to play every game just so you have the full picture of the modern day storyline. The original games especially do a really good job at recapping everything at the start of the games, and the stories can still make sense on their own. It is not necessary to experience the other stories to follow what's happening, though it does certainly help. But whether or not you want to play the others to have the full picture of the story is up to you. So, to recap, some of the games are connected, but most of them aren't. A lot of them follow a new setting and new character every time. You can realistically jump in and play any of the games and understand what's happening fine. I think the only exception where I wouldn't recommend that is with the Ezio trilogy. If you plan on playing any of those 3 games, you might as well start with Assassin's Creed 2. Or even the original Assassin's Creed, as that game's protagonist, Altair, returns in Revelations, and that game wraps up both him and Ezio's story in a very beautiful way. So, like I've said before, my personal recommendation would be just to start with the original game and go from there chronologically. However, I realize not everybody wants to or has the means to do that. I think the original Assassin's Creed really holds up quite well. Obviously some of it is dated, but it's a really worthwhile experience, and you're getting Assassin's Creed in its purest, truest form. This is what the series was originally meant to be, and you get a fantastic introduction into all of the lore that you can use as a base when going into the other games. But if you don't want to do that, pick the game that looks the most appealing to you, be it by setting, visuals, characters, whatever, and start there. If you want to start with Assassin's Creed Unity because it has some absolutely gorgeous visuals, then go for it. I actually think Unity is a very solid starting place as well. But yeah, if you love pirates, start with Black Flag. If you love ancient Egypt, go with Origins. That's the nice thing about this series. It has so many different settings and historical periods that are likely to appeal to you as a person. And the final frequently asked question I see is, how much of the lore do I need to know? And the answer is, as much or as little as you want. If you play a game and you find yourself really curious and fascinated by the Assassin's Creed lore, there are plenty of different sources where you can learn more. Be it books, spin-off games, database entries, there's a lot. Or you can ignore all that if you want and just play the games. A lot of it is extra knowledge you don't absolutely need to know if you want to play the games, but it's there if you want to know it. I hope that about covers most of new players' questions. Again, if you have any other questions, drop a comment. Myself, or I'm sure someone else, will help you out. I'm really trying to explain everything without needlessly complicating or overwhelming anybody with too much information, so I hope I've done that adequately. The final little thing I want to talk about though is, why should you play Assassin's Creed? What makes Assassin's Creed worth playing? What makes it different from the countless open world video game series out there? Well, the answer may differ depending on who you ask, but Assassin's Creed is such a unique blend of so many different components. Stealth, parkour, and the freedom to climb and almost interact with anything. The history, the immersive settings, the lore and fantasy as playing as this deadly killer in a hood with a hidden blade strapped to their wrist. Many open world games do things Assassin's Creed does, and some of them do it better, but no other series has the unique combination and style of Assassin's Creed. Being an assassin and everything that entails is just cool, or it is to me anyway. It gives me a feeling I don't get with any other game series. And while some games may provide a similar experience and gameplay loop, none offer the unique blend of all those things Assassin's Creed does. Other games can get close, but I think there's a particular itch that a lot of us who play these games have that can only be scratched by Assassin's Creed. It's how I'm able to talk about it so much and continue playing the games. And don't get me wrong, I can and have been very critical of Assassin's Creed at times, but that all comes from a place of deep love, passion, and admiration for the series. And I hope this video will help you take your first step towards that as well, because Assassin's Creed really is one of a kind. I hope most of you found this video helpful. I realize a lot of people watching this probably aren't beginners to the series, but I hope you still got something out of it. And for those of you who have been longtime fans like myself, I want to know in the comments what made Assassin's Creed appeal to you in particular, and why you've stuck with it all these years. This series has so many different elements that resonate with people, and it's the reason why it became so popular so quickly. It's crazy to think Assassin's Creed is not even 20 years old. I feel like a lot of series that are this expansive have typically been around a lot longer. But anyways, thank you for listening to my ramblings. As always, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, I'd appreciate it if you considered leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you're new. And other than that, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day, Assassins.